In today's video, I want to go over a GameStop sale that's going on right now that could be rather advantageous if the PlayStation 5 does end up having backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 3. On top of that, you could just utilize it to get a lot of PlayStation 3 games. You could get a lot of 360, Nintendo Wii, I believe, is applicable, Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, PlayStation Vita for the four of you that are still playing on that platform. We'll go over that. Also, there's a tremendous deal on Slay the Spire, a game that I am very high on. I think it's a phenomenal game, and you get it super cheap at GameStop as well. Spellbreak, the PlayStation 4 closed beta, will be kicking off very soon. Aesthetic Gamer has an update on Capcom's ongoing in the fiscal year of 2020, and Monster Hunter World, speaking of Capcom, Iceborne expansion's third major update will be dropping at the end of March. We'll take a look at that at the end of this video. But first of all, as a part of GameStop sale that they're running right now, they are doing a buy two get two free sale on all previous generation games. So no PlayStation 4 games are applicable, no Xbox One games are applicable. However, you can get some PlayStation 3 games, and if the PlayStation 5 ends up having backwards compatibility, this could be rather insane to build up your PlayStation 3 library ahead of that. Alternatively, if you have a PS3 and you want to pick up some PS3 games, if you have a 3DS or something like that and you want to add games to your library in that regard, this is a really good deal. Buy two get two free is pretty insane, and when you look at the PlayStation 3's library, it is still pretty ridiculous. You've got games like the Sly Collection, Sly 1, 2, and 3. You've got Metal Gear Solid, the Legacy Collection, all those Metal Gear games. You've got the older Call of Duty Black Ops games that I think are rather good, the Killzone titles. You've got some of the Sonic games, Sonic Generation, 3D Dog Game Heroes. How about that? That's a game that so many people have forgotten about. Of course, Demon's Souls, everybody and their mother wants to see that be remade. Infamous 1 and 2 are two games that I am incredibly high on, so to go back and revisit those games, that could be fun. Folklore, another game that I've always gone to bat for. I thought Sony Studio Japan did a great job with that game. A very early PlayStation 3 title, so at this point, not a lot of people, herald that game like an Uncharted 2 or 3 or anything like that, but Folklore was a really good game, and to get that along with this sale is pretty good. Red Dead Redemption, $14.99 for that, and along with the buy two get two, that could be rather good. Eco and the Shadow of the Colossus collection. Obviously, at SOTC, you ideally want to play the PlayStation 4 version, and that's going to be free for everyone soon as a Plus subscriber, but Eco is still a pretty good game. Drakengard 3 is there. The Jack and Daxter collection. You've got Asura's Wrath, Tales of Symphonia Chronicles. You've got Transformers, War for Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron, Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, Tales of Xillia, Silent Hill HD collection, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, and Edge of Time are both pretty good. You've got Lords of Shadow, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, that is Lords of Shadow 2, Katamari Forever, Tales of Xillia 2, Far Cry 4. You've got a Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, Sonic Unleashed, Need for Speed, Armored Core for Answer, Portal 2, Star Wars The Force Unleashed. You've got DBZ games. You've got a lot of games on the PlayStation 3, as you guys can see. Yes, I know the cool thing these days is to say, oh, every game is just going to get remastered. Well, reality has it that every game hasn't gotten remastered because there have just been so many games on the PlayStation 4. Also, X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition. As I'm recording this, I'm just scrolling down and just realizing, man, there are some great PlayStation 3 games. Yeah, the PlayStation Now library is okay, and those games are only streamable, but that isn't even covering the majority of the PlayStation 3 games. And who could forget a game like Skate 2? Literally, just seeing all of these games that are making me incredibly nostalgic, just scrolling down. Yakuza games, of course. Eternal Sonata was really good. MotorStorm Pacific Rift, the God of War Origins collection, a lot of the older Ratchet and Clank titles. Bleach Soul Resurrection was great. There's just a lot of good stuff on the PlayStation 3. When you look at it from a game library standpoint, I know the PlayStation 3 is kind of looked at below the PlayStation 2 and probably even the PlayStation 1, but man, maybe that was just because of the $599 US dollar meme and the PlayStation 3 just being a train wreck initially. However, it developed having a stacked library of games from every genre: Japanese RPGs, Western RPGs, open world games, action adventure titles, racing games with games like Midnight Club Los Angeles. There are some tremendous games on the PlayStation 3 on this sale. Really is advantageous if you do want to build up your PlayStation 3 library. If you're thinking in the back of your mind, hey, these might be playable on the PlayStation 5 when that comes out later this year. And even not, to get all these games at these kinds of prices, that's pretty insane from the get-go. So I definitely give this a strong recommendation. Alright, next up, Slay the Spire is available on GameStop.com. This is a game that I always go to bat for because it is a tremendous merging of a variety of different game genres, namely a card game and a dungeon crawler. And when I first heard of Slay the Spire on paper, I was like, okay, this game cannot work. You cannot combine a dungeon crawler and a card game to create a compelling game, but lo and behold, Slay the Spire came out and it was a phenomenal game. It was in early access on PC for quite a while. The full game came out pretty recently and it hit the PlayStation 4. Came out at $24.99. It is available for just $7.99 on PlayStation 4 for the physical copy. So to give you guys an idea, card games are something that I've been a big fan of. I played Hearthstone and games like that, traditional card games. However, the marriage of a card game and a dungeon crawler works really well because you have to gauge all of these various elements while playing Slay the Spire. How thin do you want your deck to be? You acquire these cards as you make your way through the dungeon, but you don't want to acquire every card because that's going to bloat your deck. You want to have a thinner deck so you get to all of the cards that you need as quick as possible. That's a general mechanic in card games. You want thinner decks so you can get to the cards you need. However, when you're putting that in a dungeon crawler and you're doing it as you get the cards and you build your deck as you go, that adds an interesting layer to the game as well. Then you've got elements like potions and all of these other elements that all come together and create a very unique and compelling experience that I find is rather engaging. And maybe at $25, you could have seen it as being a little bit too pricey. I believe they've knocked the MSRP down to $14.99, and it being down to $8 is ridiculous. Definitely go ahead and pick that up. That's definitely worth a buy. Next up, we have the closed beta for Spellbreak. Spellbreak is a game that's been talked about for quite a while, but the closed beta for the PlayStation 4 version of the fast-paced fantasy battle royale Spellbreak will launch on March 3rd, the developer has announced. Users who purchase the Mystic Founder Pack edition of the game via the PlayStation Store will gain access to the closed beta as well as unlock exclusive items when the full game launches. Here is an overview of the game's 6 classes through the PlayStation blog. You've got the Pyromancer. Pyromancer specializes in fire magic, allowing them to do large swaths of damage across the battlefield. You've got the Stone Shaper, a defensive earth mage who can sunder the ground to brawl up close or lay siege to their far-off quarry by throwing giant boulders over the horizon. Their primary spell is Shockwave, which tears up the ground and sends it zooming toward their opponent. You've got the Toxicologist. If you prefer somewhat of a sneakier playstyle focused around burst damage, the Toxicologist will be right up your alley. You've got the Conduit. He can cast lightning bolts, summon storms, and shock other players. When a player is shocked, they can't attack back, so time your spells, disable them, and strike the lightning on top of their elemental powers. Conduits also specialize in runic magic and control over mana, allowing them to make more frequent use of both compared to other classes. Then you've got Tempest, the high flyer of Spellbreak. The Tempest takes to the skies on the wings of the winds to rain down destruction from above. And then lastly, you've got Frostborn, and as the name would suggest, a fast-moving sniper who's capable of creating paths of ice to quickly traverse the world along with their team. Their Iceland spell is tremendously damaging but requires great care in aiming a lot of different elements in terms of the different classes, and the closed beta will be kicking off tomorrow. Wanted you guys to be abundantly aware of that game as it does look rather interesting. However, the Mystic Founder Pack is a steep $49.99, $47.49 for Plus subscribers, so that's a little bit of a bummer. However, that does get you $35 USD worth of in-game currency, in-game avatar, and badge, and more features will be included as well with that. So that is coming to closed beta tomorrow. Lastly, I do want to quickly note what Aesthetic Gamer noted about Capcom. Aesthetic Gamer has been one of the biggest Capcom news updaters, and he noted on Twitter, quote, "One last Capcom tweet, then I'll go silent until April," which is only a month away, so it's not like it's that long. Capcom's fiscal 2020 year is very impressive. There's 4 big titles they're releasing, including 2 Resident Evil games. One is RE3. Now, I imagine that these are 2 separate RE games. Of course, RE3 comes with Resident Evil Resistance, so it would be a little bit of a bummer if he's noting 2 Resident Evil games and it just is Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil Resistance. I don't think that's the case. There's also a 5th medium game, but not on the same scale as the other 4 releases. You'll see 5 games in a fiscal year that are supposed to be relatively big is pretty insane, and 4 of them being big titles, I don't know what to expect. So 2 of them being Resident Evil games, you're slashing those out. Everybody wants a Dragon's Dogma 2. Let's see if that comes to fruition. Can we get a major Mega Man game? That would be great. I'd love to see a Mega Man X9, a new Mega Man Battle Network, a new Mega Man Zero. I don't know. New Mega Man is something I'd love to see after all of the successes with the collections. Of course, there's also the talk of Okami 2. I know a lot of people would love to see that. And then you also factor in that 5th medium game. I don't really put a Mega Man game at the scale of a new Resident Evil title, a Mega Man game. You know, Mega Man is what it is. They're great games, but I don't think Mega Man is ever going to be a $60 release. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they'll create this big budget RPG in Mega Man Battle Network 7 or something like that, and that'll be huge, and that will be a big budget RPG that's $60. But typically speaking, I don't think Mega Man X9 is going to be $60. Mega Man 11 was, what, $30? And that would more so classify as a medium tier game. So a lot of interesting stuff. I think Capcom has been killing it in all regards. It'll also be interesting if those 4 games are PlayStation 4 games, PlayStation 5 games. They could be released on other platforms, whatever the case may be. A lot of potential out of Capcom's library. They've got a stacked library of IPs that they can work with, and if they're releasing 4 games in the fiscal year of 2020, that is going to be substantial. Obviously, one of them is RE3, and that'll be out on April 3rd. The rest of the 3 is a little bit of a mystery, and you've got a 5th medium game in there as well. That's some exciting stuff, and hopefully none of those see any significant delays. Alright, lastly, I do want to note that Monster Hunter World Iceborne expansion is getting its 3rd major update, and that'll be launching on March 23rd. Monster Hunter World Iceborne Title Update 3 will launch for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on March 23rd. Capcom has officially announced, as previously announced, Title Update 3 adds Variant Monsters, Raging Monsters, and Furious Rajang. Monster Hunter World and Iceborne are both available right now on the PlayStation 4. They have done incredibly well from a sales standpoint, and it's really cool to see Capcom really kill it in this regard as well. Monster Hunter World has probably been their most surprising success of this generation. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that. I thought MH World would sell pretty well. Never did I expect for it to sell these multiple millions of copies that it has ended up selling, and it's become one of the biggest games in all of gaming right now. So for it to get another update, especially because they said that Iceborne was going to be their lone major expansion for the game, they've essentially garnered all the revenue that they could have out of, you know, the major revenue out of selling the base game, selling Iceborne. I'm sure they could remaster the game, or they could, you know, do some smaller updates, whatever the case may be, but the majority of the revenue has been gone for Monster Hunter World, so the fact that they're continuing to keeping the game updated, hey, it's just goodwill for the players, and I do think that's advantageous for them in the long run. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, get buy two, get two free on PlayStation 3 games, Nintendo 3DS games, PS Vita games, and that could be rather advantageous if the PlayStation 5 ends up having backwards compatibility. Slay the Spire is down to $7.99. Definitely check that out. Spellbreak PlayStation 4 closed beta kicks off tomorrow. Capcom's looking to have a big fiscal year 2020, and Monster Hunter World Iceborne expansion 3rd major update will be dropping March 23rd. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.